Good morning. Today we're working on a 1999 XL 1200. What I'd like to do is remove the carburetor and replace the fuel inlet. What we'll want to do is to take the air filter cover. Sometimes these could be really a bear. You could use a ratchet with a Phillips head bit, and that should resolve that problem. But sometimes they're not removed for a long time. This one I did last week, and I ordered the parts. Remove, 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 remove. Let me get the tools. All right, this is a 5/16. I'm just gonna crack it. I had this apart last week, and I ordered the fuel inlet. That was 5/16. This is 5/32. Get this square. Do not use the wrong size. These strip just looking at them too long. I like placing everything on this little black mat I got on the floor, so nothing to walk away. Now for this 5/16, you already loosened. Beware, there'll be a little spacer. I'll show you in a second. Just put your finger on it, pull this out, and that's your spacer. Put it together in the tray. Same thing here. There's our parts. Take notice, this inlet broke. This stem on the inlet broke off this fuel line feed. So what I have to do is remove the carburetor. So I'm gonna index and mark these cables so it makes it easy for us to install. Okay, with a 10mm, I put all the adjustment back in the cable. Very easy. If you have to spray some oil on it, by all means do. And then just screw this down. So now we got all the play back in the cable, and it'll make it easy to release from the carburetor. So I like to index it so you don't really have to think it through. Little white nail polish, Walmart, and I put a little spot here and here. So without question, when I put this back together, I know this cable goes here. It's nothing to think about. With that, let me remove the choke with a 17mm on the other side, and the gas line's already done, and then we'll remove this carburetor. All right, with these older bikes, you got things in the way, but right here it's a 17mm. Be careful with it. This stuff cracks if you look at it too long. I loosen that up, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take a little string, tie it onto here so I can follow its path through. Sometimes, you know, things get in the way. Now I could use this as a mark to follow how this goes. You're gonna see it pops down, and then, you know, you wanna run it to the same way it came out. Okay, you just gotta watch out for a vacuum line that hooks up to the petcock. Just lean this down. The gas line is free, and this comes right off. Now, you'll see your vacuum hose back here. Just unpull it, and remember to inspect this 1/4" hose, because sometimes they go bad and they'll collapse, or they'll get a hole in them, or cracks. It's an old motorcycle, and that will interfere with the quality of your ride. Okay, there's my overflow hose. And now you see, this is our choke. And now we have this string here that we can follow. Makes it easier when you want to reinstall this. Now we have this, it's marked with white. Now this is easy now because all the adjustments gone. That's one. Okay, this is the one with the spring. Be patient. Take notice of that spring. Slide that up. And there we go. Carburetor is now in our hands. For anybody that was asking how to remove the carburetor, it don't get no easier than this. Now what I'm going to do is remove the choke. It's right in front of you. Let me get a wrench for that. All right, here's our choke. I got 13 millimeters and just loosen it. It'll come right out. See the way I'm going back and forth? Here it is. This was replaced at one time. So now we have this carburetor right in front of us, and we want to remove this inlet and replace it with a new one. All right, we got the carburetor here. What I want to do is remove this inlet. $7 part on eBay. Original ones are vinyl, they always break. This one broke, which I was kind of surprised. I have a vise. I'm going to take this. I repositioned myself. I'm going to stand on this wood block. I'll try to have my way with this. And there we go. I couldn't believe it, but this piece ended up breaking off in here. China, what are you gonna do? Let me get the new one. I have the new one in the freezer right now. They say it will make it a little smaller to make the install easier. Let's see. Here's the new one. That's the part number, eBay, still China. But any parts in Harley or the US, they're tough today. But it was purchased in the US. You can see it's frosty. Let's see if it makes a difference. You want to handle this with kid gloves. You know the carburetor sits like this. I would like to have it at a little bit of an angle. I got this clamp, Home Depot, and let's just be careful with it. Little turns, and it is easier. Obviously, I had this in the freezer for 24 hours. I got this part yesterday. And you can see, I repositioned the clamp, so now we got more adjustment. It's very hard for me to do this, but you see what I got. I'm gonna put this down, and we're gonna turn this that last little bit. Or I might tap it with the hammer. This is a tapered fit. There's not much more to it. I just took a hammer, held it like this. Not bad, it's done. With that, let's reinstall. Just take note, do not handle it by that inlet, because this is what will break. This solid brass, not a problem. This is the intake seal. Line it up nice. Take your time. Make sure she's nice. Now this is our string from our choke. And this here is that vacuum line that goes right here on the carburetor. We'll do that last. What we want to do right now We're gonna put the choke back on. Sometimes you want to disconnect this rubber boot so it will turn more freely. Make sure that this is reconnected because it can cause you performance problems. So with that moved, we can get a better position on that. As you see, it turns freely. Now 13 millimeter, it's easier to do it in your hand than on the bike. Okay, we got that. Now remember what I said about this boot is what makes it airtight. Beautiful. So now this will go like this and follow through. Our fuel line will stay there. I'm not really going to worry about this right now. I'm going to just try to get this choke where it needs to be. Right. We have the choke where we need it to be. Now, reach around this and get this line. There we go. Now I'm going to pull that through. And this will help us get our spot. Because there's a few things in the way. And you'd rather it go the way it came out instead of guessing. That's nice. The string definitely helps us along. Okay, now we got that safely. Okay. Now we're gonna hook up the cable. All right, we had to fight that a little bit. I ended up putting this in first, and it gave me a little bit of problem, so I took this out, put this in, tried it that way. That didn't work well. So what I ended up doing was putting this spring in, and then putting that in place, and it worked out pretty sweet. All right, now we got this one. Remember this vacuum hose. We don't want to forget about it. A vacuum line right there. Okay. Now what I want to do is go to the other side and get the choke correct. All right, we got the string. Okay, see, now we see with the string, this went this way. On the side of the cable. Pull that in a little bit. You'll notice there's a little notch, a flat spot, that allows this to go into there. And now the 17 millimeter, just hand tighten for now. We'll come back to it. I'll make sure everything is nice. Okay, choke looks good, vacuum looks good. And there we go. Now we hook up our fuel line. Now here's our gas line. And to turn this a little bit, you can take a wrench, but don't touch this. And you can go like that and turn it, and that will help you out. So I got these little pliers. They help out. Let's move this line back here a little bit. I want to get that all the way. Little squirt of oil. Let's see if this works a little better. There we go. Okay, now you don't see no gap there. Let's just tighten this up, and then we'll adjust the cables. Now I'm going to go to the other side and tighten up the 17 millimeters on the tube. Now this is an overflow hose. I'm going to keep this out. So tomorrow when I start this bike, I still got to do the petcock. That will be tomorrow's video. And we make sure everything is all right. Right now, the last thing left is to adjust the throttle cables. Let's get to that. All right, here's our throttle cables. Everything looks proper here at the carburetor. Okay, you just want to put the play out of the cable. Make them too tight, the throttle will not. Just go by this. You see that's too tight. Screw that down a little bit. You got that? If this one's too tight, watch. She's beautiful. Too tight, See the way it slows up? It'll almost go to a stop. Now, to adjust it, go where you're happy. You can see you've got a little play. That's perfect. Now lock up these 10 millimeters. And when you go for a test ride, if you feel you got to adjust it here. Lock them up. Lock them up. Let's not forget about this and that. I'm going to put a little oil in these. It keeps the hardware from giving us problems. Everything today is aftermarket stuff. These ain't real cables from Harley, but that's what you got to do today. Okay, you see with that, with a little twist. If you try to push up, it go like that. Okay, there we go. Now, this is protected because we have oil on it. First thing to do is to line up, you see the gasket and the spacer. Okay, you can see there's a breather hole right there. So we'll turn it around and get this started with 2 screws. Line that up, and we got 2. All right, now that got that started. There's the third one. I'm not going to tighten them up that much. Remember, like I said, you got a lock washer, a washer, and a spacer. If you tighten them up too much, it might be a bear. Okay. That seems nice. Same thing over here, greasy, but doable. I try to spray these down before I get into it. Sometimes you gotta move the carburetor up a little bit. Tighten these. Tighten that. You can put blue Loctite if you want. I never had a problem with them. Clean up everything. Filter. Put this on like that. And start. And if you have any questions, just ask. Snug them up. Tomorrow we're going to do that petcock on the gas tank because that was leaking too. Okay. Okay. Now, when I start these up, I like to keep an eye on this hose in case that float needle did not seat or they got garbage in there. So if this leaks gas, then you know your float needle's bad. If you have any questions, just ask. And I appreciate a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave a comment. And any questions, just ask. Ride safe and have a great day.